And as far as Cora went, did you observe that she was breathing?
So she was not breathing on her own.
How about the heart? Did you observe that her heart was beating?
There was no heartbeat.
How about her physical appearance? What observations did you make of her physical appearance?
So initially when she had come in, some of the things we notice is sort of a blue tint to the skin, which typically, we can see when there's less oxygen or lack of oxygen. And then the other things on a quick survey is there was some areas of bruising on the neck and around the eyes, called petechia, kind of little bleeding, episodes of bleeding under the skin, and I believe a small amount of blood coming from the nose.
Were you able to make observations of her hands or other parts of her body?
So the hands definitely had that, what we call cyanosis or blue hue.
Now, as far as the eyes, you mentioned petechiae around the face and the eyes as well as the neck. Did you notice anything else about her eyes? So
the pupils were fixed and enlarged.
Why is that significant to you?
So oftentimes when we see it coming in, it can indicate two different things. Some of the medications like epinephrine can cause the pupils to dilate, but also if the brain is starting to become damaged or not functioning, then you start to lose initially some of the signals that would make the pupils smaller, so they'll tend to start to get enlarged or dilated if there's brain injury starting or has occurred.
What I was told was that it was believed that the patient had been strangled, and when he arrived at Plymouth, he was in cardiac arrest, that they had intubated him and initiated CPR, and they had gotten return of spontaneous circulation, and that they were then going to transfer him to us for further evaluation and care.
And at some point in time, did Callan arrive at your hospital?
That is correct.
And were you able to observe him physically?
Yes.
What observations did you make about his physical condition?
He was cold on arrival, and he was quite limp, was not making any purposeful movements on his own. His pupils were fixed and dilated, and he had ligature marks about his neck with some swelling of the neck.
And his pupils being fixed and dilated, is that medically significant for you?
Yes, it is.
And why is that?
It typically means that significant injury has happened to the brain, such that there is brain swelling that has sort of it has overwhelmed the capacity of the skull, such that the swelling has made the brain sort of herniate through the base of the skull.
Does that mean the brain's swelling so much it's pushing through the skull?
Correct.
And what observations did you make of his heart rate?
His heart was beating, and we did have to provide him with an epinephrine drip to keep his heart rate and his blood pressure within normal limits, but it was beating on its own. And the CT scan showed an enormous amount of swelling of the brain itself.
And that the swelling of the brain, is that medically significant?
Very much so. When you have an injury to the brain that is caused by anoxia, which means a lack of oxygen, I describe this with families that the injury is very much like being out in the sun. You don't notice it at the time, but swelling occurs over the course of time. And one of the things with a lack of oxygen to the brain is the injury occurs and then swelling starts to happen over the course of time, typically peaking at 48 to 72 hours. When you see swelling that happens that early in a case, as in Callan's, it means that there's been a very significant lack of oxygen and therefore injury to the brain itself.
So, for example, some types of injuries that would withhold oxygen from the brain would be more mild and the swelling would occur over time. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct, yes.
So if a severe injury happens that withholds oxygen from the brain, that's when you see that immediate swelling like Callan had?
Very much so. Sort of the comparison of a sunburn to a burn that you might get from a stove. This was a stove. It's very, very profound.
And when she came into the emergency department, was she breathing on her own or intubated?
She's breathing on her own.
At some point, did the ER staff have to intubate her?
Yes.
And why was that?
For airway protection, there was a concern that maybe she would have a head injury and she would decompensate later. And so to protect her airway, she was intubated.
Now, is that a standard protocol when there's concern for head injury?
Yes.
Did you see any obvious signs of a head injury when she arrived into the emergency department?
No.
What kinds of things would you see if somebody had an obvious head injury?
You might see bleeding or lacerations or abrasions.
Now, did you observe any other obvious injuries to this patient?
I did. She had some superficial lacerations of her neck and wrists bilaterally.
Do you recall if she came in on a backboard with a C-collar?
She did.
And do you remove the C-collar at some point to assess the patient for injuries?
We didn't completely remove it temporarily to visualize and feel her neck and then put it right back on.
Okay, and you said you did observe some injuries to her neck, correct?
Yes.
I needed assistance.
And why did you need assistance?
When I first attempted to pull out her right arm, she was uncooperative and pulling it back and fighting against us a little.
So did you enlist the help of the nurses to help you to remove her arm from the blanket?
Yes.
Were you able to make any observations of kind of the temperature in the room at the time that you got in there?
Yes, it was very hot in the room.
Okay. And that blanket that you observed, were you aware that blanket was to kind of bring her body temperature up?
Yes.
When you were able to view her arms, when you first saw them, did they have anything on them?
There was a red-brown stain on her hands, and there was gauze on like her wrist area.
Did you enlist the help of the medical staff to remove the gauze?
Yes.
And why was that?
To document any injuries that might have been underneath.
And were you able to observe injuries?
Yes.
In addition to, strike that. The injuries that you observed or the areas of the body that you documented, what were they?
I documented, I took that first overall photo of her. I took a close-up of her face and the neck area that I could see. I documented both her hands, both sides of them, her wrist area underneath where the gauze was, and then the nurses assisted in opening up the neck brace, and I took photos of her neck as well.
We increased her pressors. We added 2 more pressors. She was already on 2. They placed chest tubes in, started what we call a massive blood transfusion protocol.
And did this all occur in the trauma surgical intensive care unit, or did she have to be taken to a different unit?
No, it all occurred in her room.
And other than medical staff that was treating her that particular night, did you observe anybody else present?
She had 2 police officers outside the room.
Okay, and so did they remain outside the room for the duration?
Always outside the room, yes.
As far as your interaction with the patient on that particular night shift, was she responsive at all during the time that you saw her?
No.
And with intubation, you mentioned she was intubated. Is a patient often sedated in order to maintain intubation?
Yes.
Why is that?
Helps them not fight the vent, breathe better, and make sure that they're comfortable.
And fair to say you noted increased confusion, agitation, and picking at lines and drains, correct?
That's correct.
And fair to say the patient had to be restrained because of the activity.
That is correct.
Is that something that you often see when patients come out of intubation, that when they're extubated, that they exhibit signs of confusion or delirium?
Yes, it's called ICU delirium.
And over the course of the next few days, in your interactions with her, did you see that delirium decline or decrease?
Yes, it was a multimodal approach to manage the delirium, agitation, and it did get better and it did improve.
And fair to say, during the time that you were treating this particular patient, there was also sleep issues that were part of the treatment plan.
That is correct.
And on January 29th and January 30th of 2023, were you present when the psych consult team came in to speak with the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What was the purpose of you being present?
The purpose is we had consulted the psychiatry team to evaluate and determine capacity. And my role is as the ICU nurse is advocacy on behalf of the patient and to alert the providers if there's any changes in the mental status.
Now, when they came in and you said advocate for their position, you're aware that the patient was looking to change her healthcare proxy, correct?
The patient was changing her healthcare proxy. That is correct.
And that there has to be an evaluation to determine whether she's of a particular mental status and medically able to make that decision on her own. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall who was present other than yourself and the psych doctors, the doctors from the psychiatric unit?
There was the social worker, myself, and her lawyer was present.
So there's generally 4 parts to medical decision-making capacity. The first is whether somebody's able to voice a choice and whether that choice is consistent over time. The second is whether they understand the situation under which they're making that choice. The third part is appreciation of the risks and benefits. And the fourth part is kind of being able to reason or rationalize that information to be able to come to a choice and how they came to that choice.
Now, if you're doing this evaluation to determine someone's capacity to make decisions, would a traumatic brain injury factor into that evaluation?
It could.
When you evaluated Lindsay Clancy, was she able to voice a choice to you about who she wanted to be her healthcare proxy?
Yes.
And is she speaking to you or writing this down?
She's speaking.
So she's already been extubated at that point?
That's correct.
And she's speaking to you, and were you aware that Patrick Clancy was her healthcare proxy?
I was told that by her primary medical team.
Okay. And when you talked to Ms. Clancy, did she tell you who she wanted to take over that role?
She did.
And who was that?
Both her parents.
And you talked about that needing to be a consistent choice. How did you ensure that was a consistent choice with her?
Yeah, so we waited to make the change from Patrick Clancy to her parents until the next day for a variety of reasons. We wanted to ensure that that choice was consistent over time, and especially because the day that I saw her, she had just gone through some pretty major medical events, including she had a major spine surgery, a decompression and a fusion. She had gone through some oxygen desaturation overnight, so was not breathing as well. Her heart rate was up, all of which then led to her being what we call delirious. She was confused overnight to the point where she asked her nurse, "Am I delirious?" And she was also experiencing some visual hallucinations. So that was one of the reasons why I was called in, to make sure that she was able to make that decision to change her healthcare proxy. And then in addition, the team had also voiced, concerns that she had come in after a reported suicide attempt. And so making sure that she was able to make that decision of sound mind. And so we actually waited until the next day when she could be reassessed. At that point, her delirium had cleared, and she was continuing to make that consistent choice to change her healthcare proxy to her parents.
You did a mental status examination of her while you were doing this evaluation about her decision-making capacity, correct?
Yes.
And it's fair to say under mood you listed okay?
Yes.
That you listed her thought process as organized, goal-directed. Is that correct?
Yes.
You asked her if she was having hallucinations or delusions, and she, other than those initial ones the first day, she denied those?
During my evaluation, yes.
And she also denied suicidal intent and homicidal intent, correct?
Yes.
And you listed her insight and judgment as fair, correct?
Yes.
Her behavior was calm and cooperative?
Yes.
And you didn't see anything about her behavior that would indicate to you that she was responding to some type of voices or hallucination that you couldn't see?
At that moment, no. But as I mentioned, I did speak with the nurse beforehand, and Ms. Clancy was able to report to me that she reported visual hallucinations overnight.
Overnight after surgery?
That's right.
Okay. And then never again?
Not during my evaluation.
Okay. And did you speak to Ms. Clancy again on February 19th, 2023?
Yes.
And was the purpose for that to prepare her for a transition from Brigham and Women's to Spalding Rehabilitation?
That was one of the reasons.
Okay. And what were the other reasons?
So it was an ongoing safety evaluation, ongoing evaluation of psychiatric safety risk, as well as medication evaluation to determine if her medications were at the right level, the right dosage, and that she was on the right medications, and then just ongoing evaluation in terms of kind of her mental status.
And during that meeting, she denied suicidal intent, correct?
That's correct.
She denied homicidal intent, correct? She denied having auditory or visual hallucinations, correct?
Yes.
She reported her mood as okay, is that correct?
Yes.
And she told you she was looking forward to moving to Spalding, correct?
Yes.
She also denied any confusion or disorientation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, you wrote that the patient reported feeling down about her current situation, her paralysis, and the events leading up to her hospitalization. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you also noted that she said her thoughts about what she had done were not constant throughout the day, correct?
Correct.
So she wasn't thinking about killing her children throughout the day, every day, correct?
Correct.
And she said she had no suicidal intent, no homicidal intent, correct?
Correct.
You're familiar with the concept of postpartum psychosis, correct?
Yes.
And you know that people can communicate and plan and act on plans, even if they're in the middle of a psychosis, right?
Yes.
You don't have to be drooling and stumbling and unable to walk and talk to be in a psychosis, do you?
No.
So in other words, a person can be in a psychosis and can communicate to friends, family, people, talk, correct?
Yes.
So you didn't, as counsel asked, you didn't have any difficulty understanding her. She wasn't slurring her words or anything like that when she was able to talk.
Right.
Okay. One of the things that when she was admitted, and then without going through, I'm not going to go through all the stuff we've already talked about with the medical condition and everything else, you indicated that she was very, very ill, correct?
Correct.
Did she appear to be cooperative to you when you would interact with her?
Yes.
As a doctor, as a psychiatrist, you're familiar with bipolar, the concept of a bipolar diagnosis, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell me what bipolar means?
Yeah, so bipolar disorder is a mood disorder, categorized as a mood disorder, where patients have distinct depressive episodes, as well as, depending on the type of bipolar disorder, either hypomanic episodes or manic episodes, to the point where they don't sleep for days, they still have lots of energy, there's this decreased need for sleep, there can be irritability, there can be impulsiveness, racing thoughts. A lot of patients describe that they're out of control of their behavior, and then severe episodes can also include psychosis.
And in reference to bipolar, as you were referring to, when somebody is hypomanic, what does hypomanic mean?
Yeah, it's a lesser degree of mania. So when patients are hypomanic, they don't always experience things like psychosis, but they might experience some of the other symptoms that I described, including racing thoughts, kind of moving too quickly, talking too quickly, being irritable.
And as it relates to the hypomania, would that include things such as somebody who is getting up early in the morning and exercising, or cleaning out their house, or selling their property out of a garage and having difficulty sleeping, and they're awake all night?
Yes.
So we asked her, how are you feeling? Horrified. And then she wrote down, do I have an attorney? And I said with my team that at this time, we're just getting to know you and getting to know the case, and we're not sure exactly, what is happening. And we asked her, do you have questions for us? And she asked, is my body broken? Are my legs straight? And she then asked about, can she have visitors? And, where her family is.
And when you are asking her questions, what is the goal of the questions that you're asking her? What are you trying to address or assess?
It depends. Psychiatrists are called for all kinds of issues that happen in the hospital. In this situation, we were asked around, diagnostic clarity, that there was a likely suicide event that occurred. Can you evaluate her for safety at this time before she goes into surgery?
And I know that she was intubated, so she's writing her answers. But based on the answers she wrote on the paper, did she seem to understand the questions you were asking?
Yes.
And her responses, did you understand those?
Yes, she was anxious and she needed breaks. And I said, anytime you need a break, we can leave. But she did write to us those particular answers.
What are the typical signs or symptoms of someone who is in psychosis?
It really depends, and it ranges across a spectrum of symptoms. So we have a whole category of different types of symptoms that we look at for psychosis, and they are different for everyone. But, they can be what we call negative symptoms, which are more internal, isolating, not responding, not reacting very much. And then we have symptoms like positive symptoms, that's what we call them in psychiatry, but they're a little bit more outward focused, where objectively you can see what those symptoms are, like being paranoid, darting your eyes around, responding to internal stimuli, which means you're responding to voices, and, being within a delusion. So there's all kinds of symptoms, and they look different for each and every person.
In your conversation with Ms. Clancy, did you notice any internal or external signs of psychosis?
At the time, I documented that I did not note those.
Okay. And did you also note that, she was, her thinking was linear, goal-oriented, thoughtful, and she didn't appear to be responding to internal stimuli?
Yes, that is typical language in psychiatric mental statuses, and I did document that.
What is internal stimuli?
Oftentimes, it's very difficult for our patients to be able to articulate what they're hearing. They may have perceptual disturbances like hallucinations or auditory hallucinations, and maybe hearing voices. When it's really active, we often see those individuals interacting with those voices. I didn't see that in that particular moment.
So, for example, you could see someone engaging in a looks like they're engaging in a conversation with someone, or looks like they're looking over at something, thinking something or someone is there when they're not. Is that
correct? That's what responding to internal stimuli is.
Okay.
Yes.
And you didn't see any of that present with Ms. Clancy?
Correct.
Okay. And would it be fair that some of the obvious signs of psychosis would be someone whose thoughts are disorganized, that their thinking isn't linear, that they're not making sense, things like word salad, where they're just throwing in words, making sentences that don't make sense?
So you describe symptoms that we can see in people with serious mental illness who have a psychotic disorder with active symptoms.
And you didn't see any of that with Ms. Clancy, is that correct?
Not in that snapshot moment of time.
Right. And to be clear, you only saw her for a limited amount of time on that one day, correct?
That is correct.
And this is January 26th, 2023, about a day and a half or so after she's admitted to Brigham and Women's.
That is correct.
You reviewed these handwritten entries, and at some point in this paragraph, it says, obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule like to the minute. It says hearing him cry for 1+ hours and not intervening just about killed me. I even said the words, "I want to die" to Pat while he was crying. After that, I became obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule, like to the minute. That's one of the entries you reviewed and noted.
Yes.
Page 2 says, "I also feel like I did it wrong because I did it when he was overtired, so it made it harder. Now I have horrible insomnia and anxiety." You recall reviewing that in the journal.
Correct, yes.
Page 4 of the journal says, "Why else I feel guilty? He's not really hitting his milestones." Again, that's a page that's not dated in this journal, correct?
Correct.
Page 8. "I'm completely overwhelmed trying to take care of the 3 kids. I feel like I'm drowning every day." Again, another page that's not dated.
Correct.
At some point, there are some dated pages in this journal, fair to say, right?
Yes.
And there's one on November 18th. And November 18th, that page reads, "It's like I'm so desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone that my mind is trying to make something physically wrong with me." You recall reviewing that in the journal?
Yes.
Now, in addition to the Brown Journal, when you were back at the office, you also had the occasion to review some of the other journals collected, right?
Correct.
This journal I'm holding up, exhibit number 147, is that familiar to you?
Yes.
3, counsel asked you first about her stating that she had horrible PTSD from sleep training Callan, hearing him cry for 1 hour plus and not intervening just about killed me. I even said the words, "I want to die" to Pat while he was crying. He would be the baby, right?
Correct.
And this is her saying that not being able to go to her child because they were trying to do sleep training, she indicated that it was just about killing her, correct?
That's what was stated, yes.
And after that, I, meaning Lindsay, became obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule. Like to the minute, I would tell Laney, and you know who Laney is, right?
Yes.
Who's Laney?
The other child.
The what?
I'm sorry again. What's this?
Laney.
Laney.
Laney. Laney. Laney.
Don't recall this time.
Do you recall that she had a young lady, or they had a young lady that was in their home helping with the baby while to put him down at 10:36. I would also drive him around for car naps for hours every day, feeling guilty for doing this to my baby. Do you recall making that notation?
Yes.
I also feel guilty we did it too young, parenthesis, 1 week shy of 4 months, end parenthesis, right?
Correct.
You also noted in your report that I also, quote, "I also feel like I did it wrong because I did it when he was overtired, so I made it harder. I now have horrible insomnia and anxiety, which is causing depression. I have no appetite. I don't know what's wrong with me. I want help. I want to be well." You saw that in there, didn't you?
Yes.
That you are requesting or offering to stipulate to certain facts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And before I accept that, I got to ask you some questions to make sure that your decision to do so is voluntary, that you understand the consequences. So I'm going to ask you some questions. If at any time you need to speak to Mr. Reddington, or you have any questions or have problems understanding what I'm saying, just let me know, okay? All right. Now, do you understand that the Commonwealth, in this case, is required to prove each and every element of the case against you beyond a reasonable doubt? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You understand that there are certain facts that could be introduced during the course of the trial that would might support the Commonwealth's position regarding those elements. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And you understand that by signing the stipulation, you're agreeing that the Commonwealth does not have to prove these certain facts that are contained in the stipulation. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And do you understand by signing or going along with that stipulation, you are basically relieving the Commonwealth of its burden to prove those certain facts? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is that what you want to do at this point?
Yes.
All right. Have you gone over this stipulation or the summary of the stipulations with Attorney Reddington?
Yes, I have.
All right. Need any more time to do that?
No, thank you.
All right. No, by entering into this stipulation, You're giving up some important rights, so I kind of want to go over those with you at this time. Do you understand, by law, you're presumed to be innocent of each charge against you, and you do not have to prove your innocence. All right, so instead, at trial, the Commonwealth, as I said to you before, has the burden of proving you are guilty of each element of the charges against you. And by entering into this stipulation, you're giving up your right to force the Commonwealth to prove the facts that are contained in these stipulations. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You also, at trial, where we are now, you have the right to confront the witnesses that would testify about these facts. And by entering into this stipulation, you're giving up that right with respect to these stipulated facts. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You also, if you wanted to, could call your own witnesses at the trial to contest these stipulated facts if you wanted to. You understand you'd be giving up that right by entering into this stipulation.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You also, at trial, have the right to remain silent and cannot be forced to testify at this. You understand, by entering into this stipulation, you're giving up in a limited way that right with respect to just those facts.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Are you doing this willingly and voluntarily?
Yes, I am.
All right. Has anyone forced you or threatened you to enter into this stipulation?
No, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to talk to counsel about this?
Yes, I have.
All right. Are you? All right. I make the following findings. I find that Ms. Clancy has knowingly, intelligently, voluntarily, and willingly entered into the stipulation of the facts that are contained and summarized in Exhibit J for identification. I find that she is competent to enter into this stipulation. And I find she understands the consequences of entering into this stipulation. So accordingly, I now accept the proposed stipulation of facts.
What was the ultimate recommendation for the care of this patient?
She had complex fractures in her spine at the thoracic level. We conferred with our neurosurgery colleague who was on call, who recommended transfer to a tertiary hospital.
And so where did this patient go?
Brigham.
And you reached the end of your rope. She had to be transferred because she needed immediate, high-level medical care, right?
She needed higher level of care. Yes.
Higher level of care. And as a result, she was then brought to Brigham and Women's Hospital. Now, the treatment that you had given would include raising her, apparently, temperature, I guess, because she came in at a low temperature, right?
Yes.
And did you use IV fluids?
I would have to check the record, but that is a common intervention.
So your memory would be that you believe that you used IV fluids, but you'd have to have me get out of the box and check the record to ask that question, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. It didn't really work out very well, though, did it? Because you know that when she was brought to Boston after all of the time that she was treated at your hospital, she was still core temperature of 82 when she hit Brigham and Women's.
Objection.
No, allow it if she knows.
I did not look at the medical record from another institution. I only reviewed my note from South Shore Hospital.
Referring first to this bottle that's labeled lorazepam, 1 milligram. Fair to say it says date filled 10/26/22, correct?
Correct.
And it says that originally it was filled with 30, quantity 30.
Correct.
And you counted what was left in this particular bottle, and there were only 14 pills left in that bottle, correct?
Correct.
And so the next one, the bottle labeled Sertraline, brand name Zoloft, filled on 9/15/22, quantity 30. Did you count how many pills were left in this bottle?
I did, yes.
And fair to say there's 23 left.
Correct.
Now, buspirone. There were, in fact, 2 bottles labeled buspirone, correct?
That is correct.
And one of them with a date of 10/26/22, date filled, quantity 30. You counted how many pills are in this bottle, right?
Correct.
And there were 28 pills left in this bottle.
That is correct.
Hydroxine, filled on 10/26/22, quantity 30. You counted how many pills were in this?
That is correct.
And fair to say there were 27 left in that bottle.
Correct.
Clonazepam filled on 11/25/22 with 14 pills in the prescription. You counted how many were in this bottle?
Correct.
And there were actually 11 and a half, correct?
That is correct.
Fluoxetine filled on 11/21/22 with 56 in the prescription. You counted how many were left in this bottle?
I did, yes.
And there were 43.
Correct.
Correct. The second bottle of lorazepam that was 0.5 milligrams filled on 11/2/22 with, it says 40 on the bottle, right?
Correct.
You counted what was left in this bottle and it was 18 and a half tablets.
That is correct.
And the second bottle of buspirone filled on 11/9/22, quantity 30. There were actually 30 in this bottle. Is that fair to say?
Correct, yes.
And trazodone filled on November 16th, 2022 with a prescription for 30. You counted that there were 22.5 pills left in this bottle. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then once you identified and counted each and every one of the pills in these bottles, you handed this in for evidence.
That is correct.
Do you recall whether or not anybody in your presence or anybody went into a drawer, a nightstand, and looked in the drawer and saw an Apple Watch, a bunch of pills, things to use to assist your sleeping, things of that nature? Do you remember anybody doing that?
I don't know if anybody did or not.
And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prescription bottles that were seized. Have you ever seen these?
I have not, no.
So you went through the pill count on the bottles for the district attorney, and you did that when you did inventory, apparently, of these pill bottles that you already talked about, right? For the DA, she asked you to look and tell us how many pills were missing, right?
I did that for the ones that were turned in.
Right. And nobody ever looked at these bottles, right?
I don't know if they have or not.
Why didn't you swab the whole thing?
The purpose of the collection was to potentially determine who was holding or had contact with the ends of the band and who potentially had contact with the center of the band, potentially those being two different individuals. So I collected samples separate from the ends as in addition to the center.
And was your approach on each one of the bands the same?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So the second band, which is the black band that was identified as item 2-3, you took samples again from the ends and the middle?
That's correct.
And I'm just going to show you another photograph. And is that the black band you examined?
Yes, it is.
That may be admitted.
And finally, the blue exercise band that was recovered from the home at 47 Summer Street, that was identified as item 2-4. Did you examine it in the same fashion, swabbing the ends in the middle?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Is that a photograph of the band when you were examining it at the lab?
Yes, it is.
Next.
All right, that may be admitted.
And as far as the swabbings that you took of each of these 3 exercise bands, what did you do with the swabbings after you swabbed the items?
I allowed the swabs to air dry. I gave them each a item number, and then I preserved half of each of the swabs for additional testing in the DNA unit.
And did I hear you correctly that it was 5 months later that the state police investigators decided that you would get the shingles off the house?
I don't know when that decision was made, but that was the day that I was requested to go out.
And then the district attorney showed you the shingles and envelopes. You opened them up and looked at them, and you did a confirmatory test on those?
I did not. I performed a screening test on each of those stains at the scene. I did not perform a confirmatory test on those stains due to the fact that the red-brown stain color was no longer visible. So potentially
It was degraded because of the weather, right?
At some point, the red-brown stains appeared darker. They were no longer red-brown. So I thought that the material could be less, so I didn't want to use any additional material for confirmatory testing.
And so as it pertains to these items that you reviewed, the knife, the exercise bands, can you tell us what your findings were when it came to the knife?
Yes, the knife did have limited detail, meaning that there were areas of friction ridge impressions, which is that's what we've referred to fingerprints. Is the friction ridge skin is the skin that covers your palms and your fingers and your toes and your feet. The friction ridge skin is what leaves the impression on an object. So there was an area of friction ridge impression on that knife. Mm-hmm. So it was photographed further and giving an item number. Upon further analysis, there was not enough detail to do a comparison.
So when you photograph it for further analysis, why do you do that?
Do that in order to take a deeper look to see if there was enough characteristics or minutia to do a comparison to a known print.
So with a photograph, you can enhance it and look at it closer, correct?
Correct.
But after doing that, were you able to make any sort of opinions about that area on the knife?
Yes, there was not enough characteristics or minutia to do any comparison, so it was deemed no value.
And as far as the exercise bands, fair to say you also did the same and examined those to try to identify if they had any friction ridge detail or anything of value that you could conduct a comparison on, right?
Yes.
And was there any on either the yellow band, the black band, or the blue band?
No, there was not enough to do, yes.
So you told us about your training. You told us about your experience. You told us about fingerprints. You told us how you seize items in the course of a search warrant. And then you told us about looking at the photographs and the items that would depict friction ridge, if any. But the bottom line is that you didn't get any fingerprints.
Correct.
And that you could have just said that, right? Just come on the witness stand and say, we didn't get any fingerprints.
Sustained. So then you're talking about, as the state police investigating this case, you guys walk around and you have cameras and you take pictures, right?
Yes.
That's what you told us about. Well, how about when you're executing a search warrant? Are you supposed to be thorough in the course of your search for items?
I don't search for items, sir. Everything I do is...
Right?
Yes, I document.
So if I went into the bedroom and if I found a bunch of drugs, in addition to the drugs that were found in the kitchen, and I found these in a nightstand with blood on top of the nightstand and the knife that you talked about, you would have photographed that, right?
Yes.
What were the results in the testing of the benzodiazepines in the blood? The blood contained 8.8 nanograms per milliliter of diazepam and 20 nanograms per milliliter of nordiazepam and 4.8 nanograms per mil of oxazepam and 1.9 nanograms per mil of temazepam and 61 nanograms per mil of lorazepam. And in your role in this testing process, you're just running the equipment, running the tests, and getting the data, correct? There is some analysis of the data. I have to ensure that the controls performed appropriately, that the instrument was running properly, and make a decision based on the instrument data, what I consider to be positive or not. But then it's handed off to another analyst who generates the final report. And in this case, were all the controls appropriate, all the equipment running effectively, and everything done according to the policies and procedures of the lab? Ultimately, all of the relevant controls that were associated with the samples performed appropriately.
And that detected mirtazapine, right?
Yes.
Lamotrigine, right?
Yes.
Probably mispronouncing this. Quetiapine?
Quetiapine.
Quetiapine. And quetiapine metabolite, right?
Yes.
As well as trazodone, right?
Correct.
And just tell me, what is a metabolite? What does that mean, quetiapine metabolite?
When we consume drugs, our body will break down the drug often into another molecule before it's being excreted. And sometimes our testing can detect these breakdown molecules as well. So this test detected both quetiapine as well as its breakdown product.
So there was, that would indicate that there was quetiapine that was in the blood as well as a quetiapine metabolite or a breakdown over a passage of time.
Yes.
Also, just you guys check for everything. There's no alcohol detected, right?
Correct.
No amphetamines detected, right?
Correct.
There was a benzo screen that was positive, which we've already talked about, correct?
Yes.
Buprenorphine screen, none detected, right?
Yes.
Cocaine and fentanyl, none, right?
Yes.
Methamphetamines, none, correct?
Yes.
Opiates, none.
Yes.
Cannabinoids, that'd be weed, right? None.
It's the active molecule in there.
Okay. Diazepam, none.
Yes.
Nordiazepam detected.
Correct.
Oxazepam detected.
Yes.
Teramazepam detected.
Yes.
Lorazepam detected, right?
Yes.
And then finally it says organic acids and neutrals, none detected, right?
Yes.
And then you talk about, and that would be the acids, then you talk about the actual organic bases, and it lists all of the other items that we just went through. Trazodone metabolite, for example, so you have the trazodone plus the breakdown of the metabolite. You have the mirtazapine as well as mirtazapine metabolite, right?
Correct.
Lamotrigine, quietapine, and the quietapine metabolite, right?
Correct. Substances detected on those 3 screens and the pediatric screen that you've just described to the jury.
No, they were not.
And as far as the next case, which would be laboratory number 23-01875, the decedent being Cora Clancy, you received some heart blood from the medical examiner's office post-mortem, correct?
Yes.
And as far as that, were those screening tests conducted in this case for Cora?
Yes.
And were there any substances detected?
No, we did not detect anything.
And as far as laboratory number 23-01874, which is the decedent Dawson Clancy, your unit received an item 1-101 of heart blood from Dawson Clancy, correct?
Yes.
And that was also post-mortem?
Yes.
And were those screening tests, those same 3 tests plus the pediatric test run for Dawson?
Correct.
Were any substances detected?
No, they were not.
And so where in each one of these 3 separate cases there was no detection of any substances, did you do anything further other than issue a report saying none detected?
No. I reviewed the data and then I issued the report with the none detected results.
If there had been any positive findings, additional testing would have been conducted, correct?
Yes, if we receive a positive screen, we will either perform confirmatory analysis or quantitative analysis depending on the testing.
And just as it pertains to these 3 cases, the samples received for Cal and Clancy, why did they come from a different source than the other 2?
So the medical examiner sends us the samples. If the decedent is in the hospital prior to the autopsy, they will typically send us those hospital samples as well. They prefer to have the hospital samples tested because that date and time is usually prior to the decedent's death, and we can sometimes determine what sort of drugs or poisons may have been in that decedent's body prior to their death and before drugs may have been given at the hospital.
And is this from the master bedroom floor between the mirror and the bed?
It is.
Okay. And what did you learn from your analysis of this item?
So from my analysis in looking at the stains, there's a couple of different things going on here. So they're the round circular stains, which are on the outside, are drip stains. So that is blood coming from a bloodletting event and going to the ground just due to gravity. The stains that are overlapping are considered a drip pattern. So standing there for a period of time, the blood is dripping due to gravity into itself, causing the overlapping stains as well as the small stains that are all surrounding it. Over here on the right side, there is some movement through the some of the red-brown stains, causing them to have lateral determination, and so those would be smear stains. So they're originally drip stains that were smeared through.
And showing you E13 from your notes, is this a close-up of that same area?
It is.
She had multiple injuries. The most acute were injuries that were requiring consultation with other services, and the ones that I directly managed were the lacerations to her wrists and just her wrists, actually.
And as far as when you say she had other acute injuries, you were not involved in the care of her for those, correct?
I was involved in the care that involved consulting other services to manage those things, yes.
Okay. And as far as any sort of repair work that you were doing as a physician's assistant working with the trauma surgeons, what repair work were you assigned to do?
Laceration repair.
And on this particular patient, where were the injuries or lacerations that you were going to repair?
She had multiple lacerations on both of her wrists. She had superficial on her neck, which I did not repair.
Okay. And as it pertained to the wrists, did you go through that process of observing, reviewing, coming up with a plan, and then repairing those injuries?
Yes.
And were you directed to do that by any particular doctor?
Not necessarily directed. A lot of those things fall within my scope, and since they were less acute, they kind of fell down the chain to me.
You've had occasion to speak to the prosecutors on this case, and they've asked you about the superficial injury to her wrist, right?
Correct.
In addition to the, as indicated on page 75 of the Brigham and Women's Hospital record that I have, and we can fix that with other records if it doesn't coincide, there's a note from Dr. Anderson that the right upper extremity, 3.5 centimeter deep laceration, volar aspect of the wrist. Left upper extremity, 2 centimeter deep laceration on the volar aspect of the wrist. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then you were able to, as you say, clean it up with saline or whatever, and then you stitched up what you had to stitch up, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you have anything to do with the massive transfusion that she had?
No, sir.
Do you have anything to do with the treatment of the transected spine that she had, the shattered spine?
No, sir.
Do you have anything whatsoever to do with the insertion of tubes on both sides of her body and the draining of the blood that had pooled in her middle cavity?
Just the management of those tubes after, but not the placement.
Okay. So you were there while that was done?
I was there managing once they had been placed, but I was not there for the placement of them.
Okay,
no.
But you knew that they were in there, that they were draining
Correct.
the blood. Okay.
Yes.
And do you know where the blood came from that was in her middle extremity?
I don't know specifically. I'd have to refer back to the imaging reports.
In any event, you know that shortly thereafter she coded, right?
Yes.
Were you there for that?
No, sir.
And basically, that means that the patient has, in effect, died from cardiac arrest, right?
Not necessarily died, but their heart has stopped beating for that
and then
portion
there's
of
the crash teams and everybody hopefully revives the person, right?
Correct.
And you guys did that, or they did, and they were successful reviving her, correct? So without going through everything, you'd agree with me, sir, that your observations would be of the wrist, the repair, and the taking care of the tubes after they were inserted into both sides of her chest.
That's correct.
And that was your involvement extended, correct? You're all done after
I was
that.
involved in the ongoing management of her care throughout the day, but just as you stated, not the things that you asked me about.
Okay, thank you, sir.
The toxicology report for item 10-101 on the blood with those benzodiazepines, there's diazepam, correct?
Yes.
Norodiazepam,
Yes.
oxazepam,
Yep.
temazepam,
Yes.
and lorazepam.
Yes.
And as far as your review of the testing on those substances and the concentration levels, did anything about any of those levels stand out to you as far as based on your training and experience?
Only that they were reportable.
Okay. Are you familiar whether they're in any sort of therapeutic level for any of those drugs?
I'm not sure.
Okay. You mentioned there were also other substances that were detected in the general unknown screen, correct?
Yes.
And that would have been mirtazapine, lamotrigine, quetiapine metabolite, and trazodone.
Yes.
And was your lab able to get concentration levels for those?
No.
And so what did you do, or what was done with the samples or the specimens as it pertained to those substances?
To my knowledge, they were sent to NMS labs.
And you've previously stated that you are trained on effects of certain types of drugs, but your limitation is you don't know how it affects a particular individual, correct?
Correct.
These particular 5 benzodiazepines, do you know where they fall in the type of drug, what the general effects of those drugs are?
Benzos tend to be central nervous system depressants.
Okay. And the ones that were detected, but you don't have the levels for, mirtazapine, in the list I read, what category are those drugs?
Those tend to also be central nervous system depressants. Quetiapine in particular is usually known to treat bipolar disorder or schizophrenia.
And as it pertains to the presence of the 5 benzodiazepines, your testing is limited in that you don't know whether that was from one medication or multiple medications, correct?
Correct, because the nordiazepam, oxazepam, and temazepam tend to be metabolites of diazepam.
The next witness on the stand was Justin Brower, a forensic scientist and toxicologist at NMS Lab. He conducted further testing on Lindsay's blood and urine samples. He broke down all of the medications that were in her body and what they are classified as.
Would you like me just to run down the list?
Sure.
Okay. We detected lamotrigine in a concentration of 6.1 micrograms per milliliter, mirtazapine at a concentration of 200 nanograms per milliliter, quetiapine at a concentration of 1,800 nanograms per milliliter, and trazodone at a concentration of 0.44 micrograms per milliliter. And these were all in blood.
In blood. And so with each drug that you just listed, are you familiar with what the common name is for the drugs?
I'm not always that great with common names, but I can wing it.
Okay. Well, the lamotrigine, and forgive me if I botched
That's okay.
the pronunciation, that's also referred to commonly as Lamictal.
It is, correct, Lamictal.
What kind of drug is that?
It's typically used as an anti-seizure medication. So if somebody has a seizure disorder, it can be prescribed to alleviate seizures, but it is also used for bipolar disorder as well.
And mirtazapine, fair to say that's commonly referred to as Remeron.
Correct.
And what kind of drug is that?
That isn't typically an antidepressant.
And quetiapine, what's that common drug?
Quetiapine is known as Seroquel.
And fair to say that's an antipsychotic as well for bipolar?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with whether that often can be prescribed in low doses for sleep?
It is. It can be for insomnia.
And trazodone, what's the common name for trazodone, if you know?
I am drawing a blank on the trazodone.
If I suggest trazamine, is that familiar?
Not the one I'm most familiar with, and I apologize.
Okay. That's okay, but you're familiar with trazodone.
Correct,
And
yeah.
what class of drug is that?
That's an antidepressant.
Now, in your review of the levels that were detected in these 4 tests for each of these substances, do any of these levels appear to be outside therapeutic concentration levels?
The only one that's a little elevated would be the quetiapine.
In other words, what you're saying is that the numbers alone do not tell the tale of what happened to a particular individual, right?
Correct. They don't tell the entire story.
Right. And you're, for NMS Laboratory, you were retained or working for the DA's office, these people here, right?
That was the submitting agency, correct.
And they certainly were not constrained from picking up the phone and calling you and telling you that this is blood from a woman that threw herself out a window and tried to kill herself after cutting her wrists and her neck. They could have told you that, right?
Well, overruled.
It's possible that does happen in rare occasions in high-profile cases.
Right. And so that would have been something, for example, the facts that you wanted to know, that you would have liked to have known to kind of round out your opinion about the actual level of the drugs in the blood that you examined, right?
It's not necessary.
Well, it's not necessary, but you did indicate that you would like to not give an opinion without the facts.
Correct.
Okay.
Today.
From the witness stand?
Correct. I don't have all the information.
Of course. And the word therapeutic, is that consistent with, in other words, the treatment level of a particular narcotic or drug in the blood?
Correct. It's the concentration of the drug in the body to elicit an effect or the desired effect.
So, members of the jury, remember, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I talked a little bit about those stipulations. So the same instructions. All right? These are facts that I'm going to read that the parties have agreed to that you can rely on in arriving at your verdict at the end of this case. This is one of 4 that was just introduced. You'll have all 4 of them with you back in the jury room when you deliberate. But so let me just read this one stipulation. This doesn't mean this stipulation is any more important than any of the other ones, but the parties would like me to just read this one here. All right, so this is a stipulation regarding the DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain. It was marked A. Now, in the above captioned matter, the parties agree to the following facts as it pertains to the DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain A in the basement. Number 1, forensic scientist Emily Oliver reviewed and interpreted the data relating to the question items, parentheses, item 2-4, blue exercise band, and item 3-3, the red-brown stain A from the basement floor, close parentheses, and conducted comparison analysis to the known standards in this case. Number 2, the parties agreed to the following conclusions regarding comparison analysis of these items. A, item 2-4.1.1, sample from the ends of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. There are 5 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion in the profile. They are Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Cora Clancy, Lindsay Clancy, and Patrick Clancy. B, item 2-4.2.1, sample from the middle of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Callan Clancy is included as a major contributor. And C, item 3-3.1, sample of swabs from the red-brown stain A on the basement floor. The DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile.
When doing your comparison work, did you also use some DNA profiles that had been generated in the lab for Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy?
Yes, I utilized known standards that were developed from those individuals.
And known standards, are those basically the DNA profiles for each of those individuals?
Yes, known standards are samples collected directly from a known individual for comparison purposes.
Okay. And going to item 2-2.1.1, the swabs from the ends of the yellow exercise band, what were your findings?
So I'm going to start with a general statement for this report as a whole. The presence of multiple first-degree relatives in a mixture DNA profile can impact overall interpretation, including the determination of the number of contributors and likelihood ratios. Relatedness was considered for the following results. For item 2-2.1.1, sample from ends of yellow exercise band located in basement office, 47 Summer Street. The DNA profile is a mixture, including male DNA. Due to the possible relatedness of low-level contributors to this profile, an alternate number of contributors was considered. First, assuming 2 contributors. The DNA profile is a mixture of at least 2 contributors, including male DNA. Contributors 1 and 2 are suitable for comparison. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.7 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals.
This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. Assuming 3 contributors. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Contributor 1 is suitable for comparison. Due to limited information and possible relatedness of contributors, contributors 2 and 3 are not suitable for comparison. The DNA profile from this item is at least 920 octillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from contributor 1 of this DNA profile.
And directing your attention to item 14-1, a swab from stain B on the backside of the house, 47 Summer Street. What were your findings regarding that swab?
The female DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile.
Those samples of blood came back with Lindsay's DNA on them. No surprise there. It would have been a surprise if it was somebody else, but there was no surprise there. The next witness was named Elaine Rossi. Now, this was quite emotional, especially for Lindsay Clancy, as the former nanny, Elaine, testified. She worked for the Clancy family back in the summer of 2022. 15-year-plus nanny came to the family home after answering a post from the family looking for a part-time nanny. She met the family in their home. She remembers sitting in their backyard and talking.
And what was the purpose of kind of meeting at their home in the backyard?
It was to get familiar with the kids, just for an introductory meeting. I got to hold Callan and play with Cora and Dawson a little bit and talk to Lindsay and Patrick.
And so at that time, Cora was 4, right?
Yes.
And Dawson was 3?
Yes.
And Callan was an infant?
Yes.
Now, as a result of your kind of interview or interaction with them, what eventually happened with your relationship with the Clancys? Did you become their nanny?
I did.
And did you communicate with Lindsay about what the expectations of the job were going to be?
I did.
So what was your role or your expectations of the role?
My role was to take care of Callan when she went back to work.
Okay. And did you know when that was expected to happen?
I believe right around Thanksgiving.
And did you start working for them prior to that? Prior to November?
Yes, I did. I started first week in September of 2022.
And so while the original terms were for you to primarily watch Callan, did you take on a slightly different role in between September and November?
I did.
And so what were the responsibilities, or what did the Clancys ask you to do for the family during the time of September through essentially when you stopped working for them?
It was to get to know the family, to get to know how they worked as a family, to get to know their schedule, and essentially mostly to take care of Callan. Occasionally, Cora and Dawson would be home, and I would interact with them as well.
So going into it, you knew that you would sometimes be spending time with Cora and Dawson.
Yes.
But to your understanding, were they at the home all the time?
No, they were at school.
And other than caring for Callan, did you agree to take on some other responsibilities in the household?
I did.
And what were those responsibilities?
It was food prep, light housekeeping, laundry, things like that.
Was that something that you offered to do as part of your services, or were you asked to do it?
I offered initially. I said that those were things I did as a nanny for previous families.
Did you come to find out that Lindsay was having some issues?
I did.
Did she talk to you about that?
She did.
And what did she tell you about her issues?
She shared with me that she was suffering from postpartum.
Now, when she shared this information with you, had you noticed anything different about her demeanor or her presentation around the house?
I didn't at all.
Had her trips out of the house when you were there stopped or decreased during that time period?
No.
And did she tell you that at that time that she was seeing some doctors?
She did.
What about medication? Did you have any conversations with her about her taking medication during that time period?
I think we talked about she was going to stop a medication because she was trying to stop nursing.
That she was going to stop medication or she was going to start medication?
I think she was trying to stop something because she was going to, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
She was not going to nurse Callan anymore because she was going to be starting a new medication.
Did she ever give you any details about the medication?
She didn't.
Do you recall seeing prescription bottles around the house?
I did.
Now, the kids themselves, you had the occasion to spend some time with Cora. And how would you describe Cora?
Oh, Cora was a girly girl who loved her babies very much. She was very sweet, and she loved arts and crafts and loved playing with her Fresh Mart, which was a little children's supermarket. She was lovely.
And Dawson, how about him? How would you describe him?
Dawson was full of energy, rambunctious, funny, silly.
Did you ever have any problem watching Dawson or keeping him under control? Or
Not at all. I was only with him on a handful of occasions.
Did you ever see Dawson kind of interacting with his siblings, with Cora or with Callan?
I did.
And did you see anything, or could you tell us a little bit about Dawson's interactions with them?
Cora and Dawson played well. There was one occasion in the kitchen where they were playing, and I think Cora took one of his Play-Doh, something. He was playing with Play-Doh, and his reaction, he was frustrated, and he reached out and slapped Callan.
Now, were you alone with the kids during this interaction, or was Lindsay present too?
Lindsay was, I think, in the kitchen at the same time.
Did you see her react to that when she saw that behavior?
She did.
And what was the reaction? What did she do?
She went over and removed Callan. She removed Dawson from the room and came back and consoled Callan.
Okay. And eventually, did you see her go back and kind of talk to Dawson about his behavior and address it? Okay. And was that appropriate in your opinion?
Of course, yes.
How about how you would describe Callan? How would you describe him? You spent the most time with him, correct?
I did. He was the happiest, sweetest, easiest baby. He was just a love.
Just so heartbreaking. I think I've said that every single night, but I don't know what else to say about it. Elaine said that in her time working with the family, she never had any concerns about Lindsay. She was concerned at one point that Lindsay was losing a lot of weight, but she didn't have any concerns about whether the kids were safe or not. Now, Kevin Reddington, the defense attorney, focused on Lindsay being a great mom and the strong relationship that the nanny had with Lindsay.
What did you observe about her as a mother interacting with her kids?
I observed a wonderful mom who loved her kids, she was very concerned with their safety. She was very concerned with Callan's eating and sleeping. She was a wonderful mother.
And the district attorney asked you questions about what apparently is Exhibit 150 in this case. And that's the book that she would write notes to you on, and then you would on occasion write notes back to her. Is that right?
Yes.
So when the district attorney asked you to identify her writing, also there were photographs like that in the book as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who would draw that? Would she draw that or would you draw that?
I think I drew that.
You drew that one?
Yeah, I think so.
And for example, Thursday, September 29th, it says Callan last fed time, put him down for a nap at 9:35 with a smiley face. We will be home. Clean the clothes in the dryer if you get to it. And then Callan up at 10:45. And then some scribbling mark on the bottom. That's an indication of the type of notes that she would leave for you.
Correct.
Would she also leave notes for you to the effect of cutting up sweet potatoes and cutting up celery and things in 1-inch squares so that the kids to eat?
Yes, food prep, yes.
Did you find that to be overbearing or?
Well, not at all.
You didn't find that to be controlling, that she was trying to exert a control over you, did you?
Not at all.
In terms of the marks around Callan's neck and the petechiae around his eyes and face, did that give you an indication here of the mechanism of death for Callan?
Yes.
And how so?
It is consistent with a ligature strangulation, given that the abrasions are linear around his neck and there are petechial hemorrhages above those lines of abrasion.
And how is it that when someone is strangled with a ligature, that causes petechiae in the face and eyes?
So what happens is that the blood vessels that supply blood to the neck are compressed. And so there are jugular veins, which are a lower pressure system, and carotid arteries, which are a somewhat higher pressure system. And so as the vessels are compressed, if there is a backup of blood in the head, there can be an increased pressure in those small blood vessels that I mentioned, and they can rupture, causing the petechiae.
But basically, is it similar to a balloon filling up, but it's not air, it's blood and pressure in the face?
Yes.
And so when that pressure gets too great, is it that the capillaries are basically bursting and causing those little red marks?
Yes. Most texts say capillaries, some say venules, the small blood vessels.
And how is it that this process, the strangulation by ligature, causes death physically? How does it physically happen?
So the blockage of blood, either both to and from the head or just from the head, will cause a lack of oxygen to arrive at the brain. And there can be an element of airway compression as well, such that the lungs can't oxygenate properly.
What were your observations of Cora that day?
As far as I can recall, it was a very normal visit. Cora seemed to be behaving normally. No kid's happy to be there for a checkup, but I didn't notice anything out of the norm. She seemed perfectly well behaved, and Mom seemed appropriate as well.
Mom seemed appropriate?
Yes.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary about Lindsay Clancy's demeanor or behavior or interaction with you?
No.
Was she able to give you a history of how Cora was doing and what milestones she was meeting?
Yes.
Was she able to answer your questions?
Yes.
Did you have any trouble understanding her at any point?
No.
Did she seem to have any trouble understanding you?
No.
Did she have, visible tears or a flat affect or anything like that?
No.
Did you have a discussion with Lindsay Clancy about Cora having some stomach aches?
Yes.
And what was your evaluation of that and your recommendation?
So we talked about the belly pain she was having. From what I could tell, I thought constipation might be possible because it's something we see a lot in kids. So I had suggested we try Miralax, which is a common stool softener we use, and wanted her to see me within 2 weeks if Cora wasn't feeling better.
Okay. And when you recommended the Miralax, was Lindsay Clancy receptive to that?
Yes, I believe so.
Did they seem healthy?
Yes.
Did they seem happy?
Yes.
And all the times that you would see Lindsay with the kids at your office, did she appear to be a doting or concerned mother for the children?
Yes, she did.
One of the questions that the DA had asked you is whether or not you're familiar with postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, things of that nature. Would you agree with me, in your experience, extensive as it is, that a person can be suffering from postpartum depression and or postpartum
I'm not sure I have enough expertise to explain, to answer that well.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was Lindsay the type of person, to your observation and your treatment of her, that she was kind of like, was she like a complainer? Would she complain to you about the kids being a pain in the neck and that she was aggravated with the children or anything like that?
Not that I remember, no.
In all of the times that you had seen her, let's focus, say, on the year of 2022 up through 2023, January 24th, when you saw the children, I'm sorry, Cora, I believe it was, last. Counsel had asked you whether or not you made any observations that you would have noted if she appeared to be suffering from any symptomology of postpartum. Do you recall her asking you that?
Yes.
And in your treatment of the children and in your observations of Lindsay, did you know, or did she indicate to you, or did Patrick indicate to you, or anybody indicate to you, that in October of 2022, she was seeing a psychiatrist?
No.
She hadn't been feeling well and that she was still laying on her cot.
And what did Lindsay say or do after you told her that?
She came into the classroom and picked her up off the cot and said, "Oh, baby, come on, let's go get Dawson and we'll go home."
And so at that moment, when she came to the classroom, she hadn't already picked Dawson up?
No, she went upstairs to pick Dawson up.
When she came into the classroom and told you that and picked up Cora, did you notice anything different about her than any of the other times you had interacted with her?
No.
During the lunch specifically, I don't remember her exact symptoms. Our conversation surrounded her upcoming return to work, and Lindsay was feeling that she wasn't in a mental state ready to go and take care of patients. She talked about insomnia and some not feeling herself. I believe she might have used the words like brain fog or something like that.
And while you were having lunch with her and having this discussion, did you ever have any trouble understanding what she was saying?
No.
Did she ever appear to have difficulty understanding what you were saying in response?
No.
Was there anything different about her speech pattern?
Not that I recall.
When you were discussing these issues with Lindsay about having some insomnia and being concerned about going back to work, did you give her any advice or do anything to help?
Yes, it was myself and two other nurses that we work with who Lindsay was friends with outside of work, and we were all encouraging her to get the help and support that she needed with medication if needed and therapists, and giving her any ideas we could think of in our personal and professional lives that may help her.
Okay. And did Lindsay tell you that she was looking to find some type of medication that would help her sleep and help her with her anxiety?
Yes, I believe we talked about medication, and she was going to be meeting with a new therapist shortly.
And during this conversation or after it happened, did you ever have any concerns about her harming herself?
No.
Did you ever have any concerns about her harming the children?
No.
And can you tell us what that exchange was?
Again, that was with myself and Lindsay and the two other nurses who she had confided in, and we asked her how her holidays were and could we get together again in the new year. And she said, I can't get together right now because I'm involved in an intensive program, but hopefully soon.
Okay. And did she wish you a happy new year?
She may have, I do not recall.
And did she tell you that she was in fact at that time at McLean Hospital, or did she just leave it more vague that it was just an intense program?
I believe it was an intense program. I did not know the name of the facility at that time.
Did you at that time know that she was currently at a hospital?
I don't recall what I knew then versus what I know now.
Did you also speak with Lindsay on January 23rd, 2023?
I did not speak to Lindsay. I sent her a text message on January 23rd.
And what did you say in your text message?
I'm paraphrasing, but I believe I said, "Hi, I've been thinking of you, wondering if you're still in the daily program," I believe I said. So maybe I didn't realize it was inpatient. And she responded.
And what was her response?
Again, I'm paraphrasing, but she said something like, "I'm no longer in the program. I'm continuing to work with my psychiatrists to find the right medication that will allow me to sleep at night but still function during the day. I've had a lot of bad or negative side effects from the medication, so I've had to come off of them and go on new ones, and it's been very difficult."
Did you ever observe her? Was she a complainer? Like, would she come and complain to you, or was she pretty much private but would share her opinions of what was happening inside of her with you?
She was not a complainer about work or home or anything, but we were friends, and she did share more personal details with me.
And when she was working, would you guys be working on the night shift, or would you work in the afternoon? Or
the night shift?
Night shift. So did you ever see her go on her phone and access cameras to see what was going on at home with the babies or anything like that?
Yes.
Is that something that she would do on a regular basis, staying in touch with the family and looking at the cameras?
Yes.
Did she ever tell you why she was doing that?
Not specifically.
Okay. She, to your appearance or to your observation, appeared to be very concerned about her kids, right?
Yes.
Did you ever hear her complain that she wanted to leave behind the life that she had and basically move on, something better?
Oh, no. Lindsay, from the time I met her as a young woman, very much desired to be a mother and have a family.
And she did share with you that her mother-in-law actually referred her to somebody for some help as well, correct?
Yes.
In the holiday period, you guys stayed in touch again. You were texting her, and that's when she was, now we know she was in McLean Hospital, but she told you she was in an intensive program, right?
Correct.
In other words, she didn't say, I can't go to lunch with you guys because I'm in a mental hospital. She basically said, I'm treating my problems.
Correct.
To your years of dealing with Lindsay and seeing her with her kids and her family, what's your opinion of her as a mother?
Lindsay was a very loving, caring mother. This is exactly what she wanted to have. She wanted a big family. She was happy to have her children close in age.
Oh, I was answering the second part of your question. I didn't notice any changes in behavior, but I did notice her appearing more tired over time.
And was that after she had Callan or before that?
Afterwards.
And how often would you see her after she had Callan?
Weekly.
So still going to the same types of places where you would run into her and engage with her. Is that correct?
Yes.
And other than seeming more tired, was there any other change in her demeanor or personality or behavior?
No.
Did she tell you during that time that she was having trouble sleeping?
Yes.
And did she give you any specifics on that?
Just that it was very difficult to get sleep, difficult to fall asleep even when kids were asleep, and that it was just it was an ongoing struggle.
Did that cause concern for you at that point?
I think for a period of time, it felt normal, but after it seemed to continue and not let up for her, I definitely worried about her and was concerned.
When you say it seemed normal, what do you mean by that at first?
I would say for a period of time seemed reminiscent of, sleep troubles that, I remember having and that, remember friends talking about. But I think over time, I started to worry more and realized that it wasn't improving for her.
And what you're talking about, is it, typically after having a baby, new moms are tired from, late night feedings and changings and all of that?
Yes.
And then with Lindsay, she stayed tired?
Yes.
Okay. Did she talk to you about seeking out help from doctors?
She did.
And did she talk to you about seeking out medication to help?
Yes.
And do you recall any specifics about those conversations, about what types of doctors or what types of medication she was seeking?
I don't know about the different types of doctors or the types of medications.
How was she as a mother to your observations? Did she, as far as taking care of her kids, being happy with the kids? Did she not like her kids? What were your observations?
She loved her kids. She was warm, kind, consistent, loving.
And you actually were summoned to be here today by the district attorney's office, correct?
I was.
And you actually were interviewed by the state police. That's what she was questioning you about, page 11 and page 12. It was a recorded interview and things of that nature, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that although she may not have been telling you that she was seeing something that wasn't there, or hearing voices or drooling or acting in some unusual fashion while you guys were out having lunch, she did express to you that she was having some difficulties, correct?
She expressed that she was having difficulty, yes.
And would you say, knowing Lindsay as you did, that she was the type that was not really a complainer? She would not try to be a downer when you're out to lunch and having a good time with your friends and complain about her symptoms?
No.
But she did tell you that she was somewhat hopeful because she was seeing healthcare providers?
Yes.
And one of the things that they had asked you about, fair to say that when you talked to the police, you told them that you had spent a lot of time chatting about over this period of time that she had been having a lot of trouble sleeping, and that she referenced the postpartum period, right?
Yes.
In terms of January 24th, 2023, when the children were killed, how close in time were your text messages to that incident?
Only a few days.
Okay. And what was that text conversation?
She had shared that she had been taking a medication that caused her to have some dark thoughts, but that she was going to, or had been tapering off that medication and was trialing new ones that would remove those side effects and be more helpful and therapeutic to what she needed.
And did she tell you what those dark thoughts were?
No.
What was the tone of the conversation?
Hopeful, I would categorize it. I remember it being something where there was conveying of hope and that it was going to be we were moving in a positive direction.
So basically, would it be fair to say that Lindsay was telling you that she'd had some side effects and some dark thoughts because of medication, but was weaning off of those and moving on to something else that would hopefully help her?
Yes.
Was she able to walk around and ambulate, or was she in a wheelchair, or what was her condition? Was she in bed?
She was in a wheelchair. She was sitting up the entire visit.
Did you ask her about why she was in the wheelchair and anything like that?
No.
You knew that she had been in the hospital from January 24th, right?
Yes.
And you knew that your friend had been charged by the police and had killed her 3 beautiful children, right?
Yes.
That was a bit of an awkward, uncomfortable topic, wasn't it?
I think it would be for anybody, yes.
Absolutely. And the district attorney asked you whether or not she cried and whether or not she told you about her children and anything to do with her children or that incident. You both basically stayed away from that entire subject, right?
I remember also being told not to bring that up specifically, which at the time I figured that could be due to the recommendation of mental health providers, et cetera, who were treating her.
Right. And who told you that?
Her sister.
Now, how long did you visit with her?
It was brief, maybe 30 to 45 minutes.
Did you know that there were some struggles going on at that point?
I did.
And did you know that Lindsay was, specifically Lindsay was having some struggles at that point?
Yes.
Did you stop by again a few nights before Christmas?
I thought that's the night you were talking about. Yes, I guess we did.
Okay. And when you stopped by the night before Christmas, do you recall who was there that day?
I think the same people, but I'm not positive.
So Lindsay's parents, Lindsay, Patrick, and the kids?
Yes.
And what was Lindsay's demeanor that day?
It was okay. It wasn't terrible.
Do you recall testifying previously and saying that she seemed like she was in good spirits?
Yes.
Would that be accurate?
Yes.
And when you were there at the house that day, did you make plans for the following day for Christmas Day?
Yes, we made plans to go to Mass.
And who was going to go to Mass?
Lindsay, Patrick, the kids, my wife Sue, and me.
And did you all, the following day on Christmas, did you go over to Lindsay's home before going to Mass?
Yes.
Okay. Did you all gather for breakfast?
I don't recall.
And let me approach. Page 33. If you can just read to yourself lines 2 through 7, and then just look up when you're done.
Okay.
Take your time.
All right. Okay.
Does that refresh your memory, sir?
Yes.
So did you go over that day for breakfast?
Yes.
And how was Lindsay's demeanor that day?
It was good. She looked beautiful. She had a beautiful dress on.
And do you recall saying previously she seemed very happy that day?
Yes, she did.
And after breakfast, did everyone go to church as planned?
Yes.
And how are the children in church?
Fantastic.
And fair to say it reads, "Hello, lovely parents. I'm looking for some advice, solidarity, ideas, something, anything. I'm truly finding my 19-month-old to be the most difficult human I've ever encountered. I mean that with all love in my heart, but I honestly cannot make it through a day without getting so frustrated with him. He's not my first child, so not to compare, because I know that every child is different, but just for background, this isn't my first rodeo. Every single thing with him is a battle, and it has been this way for a while, since he was maybe 8 months old. I really try to pick my battles and only do what's completely necessary, but I mean everything. Getting out of his crib in the morning and going downstairs, changing his diaper, getting him dressed, getting him in his seat to eat, getting him in the car seat, getting him out of the car seat, putting on his jacket and shoes to go outside, having him come inside when it's time, going to sleep for his nap, and at night, he fights me every step of the way with all these normal daily activities. It constantly feels like I have to force him to do these things, which feels so wrong, but he is always fighting me and crying about doing these very normal things." You recall seeing that message in the records.
I do.
And fair to say there was some comments to the records and also an acknowledgement by the person with the Facebook page, Lindsay Marie Clancy, thanking the contributors for their advice.
Yes.
Did you review a portion of the record indicating that the patient said to Dr. Hogan or reported thoughts of wishing to be dead but no plan?
Yes.
And that there was no violent or homicidal ideation, right?
Yes.
And that there was observed at Mass General to have no evidence of psychosis, mania, obsessions, or current anxiety symptoms.
Correct.
So that's information that you knew before you met with the patient.
Yes.
And as far as what's reported when the patient comes to McLean, and in this instance when Lindsay Clancy came, are you aware she reported during that clinical evaluation center evaluation that at the beginning of December she had started Seroquel and Remeron and started to have intrusive and suicidal thoughts?
Yes.
That she attributed that to medication?
Yes.
Okay, and so what was the plan, the first plan that came out of that clinical evaluation center evaluation of Ms. Clancy?
She was continued on the medications she was admitted on. The plan, they do the checks, they decide what medical monitoring you need, but she basically was admitted and the medications were the same.
And what was the security level, or how long were the checks assigned to her after this evaluation?
15 minutes. Ms. Clancy complained, there were several symptoms. One of the things that she did complain about was the numbness, and Dr. Madhwa did, hear that and hear her concern, and that she had been sensitive to many different medications. So she
well, let me ask, if I can ask a question.
You finished with your answer?
So she determined that it was possible that the numbness the patient was complaining of was a side effect of the medication she was on, and the plan was to taper that medication and observe the patient to see whether the numbness went away and also if any other symptoms became evident.
So the medications, you were aware of the medications that Ms. Clancy came into McLean on, right?
Yes.
And what medications were those?
Seroquel at 100 milligrams a day, Valium, 2 milligrams. I don't remember the frequency. I think it was per day. And
again, we're going to let her finish.
Yeah, I'm just saying I have no problem if she looks at the record.
Yeah.
So Seroquel, Valium, and Benadryl.
Do you remember or do you recall Remeron being one of the drugs that were described or reported by Ms. Clancy? When she came in, that she reported taking Remeron?
In the past, yes.
Okay. And again, in that report from the patient about past history, do you recall her indicating that one of the providers had suspected a bipolar disorder?
Yes.
In your interactions with Ms. Clancy and your review of the interaction she had with other psychiatrists, did she appear to agree with that diagnosis?
Did who appear to agree?
Ms. Clancy.
Rephrase that question, please.
Ms. Clancy,
Yes.
she disagreed with the diagnosis.
Okay. What did she identify to you to be her main concerns that she wanted to address during her stay at McLean?
She did not want to be dependent on an antipsychotic medication, which is what Seroquel's class is, even though it's used for insomnia and other indications, depression. She didn't want to be dependent on Seroquel to be able to fall asleep.
Okay. And so fair to say she was very concerned about wanting to sleep at night.
Yes.
And she was very concerned about her symptomology, or what she was experiencing by way of symptoms from various medications, right?
Yes.
And that concept, or the phrase numbness, did she use that a few times?
Yes.
And again, you mentioned Dr. Madva was concerned about the numbness with the medication. In your experience with Seroquel, is that also a common side effect for people to feel numb?
It can be one of the side effects that people can have.
Okay. And as far as the suicidal statements that you were aware of from the prior reports, did you go through that with her about whether she presented to you with suicidal ideation?
Can you ask me that again?
Sure. Did you talk to her about her thoughts of suicide?
Yes.
And did you talk to her about whether she had any specific plan?
Yes.
Did she have any plan?
No.
Had she reported that she had ever had a plan for suicide?
No.
And did she tell you there were reasons why she thought she wouldn't commit suicide?
Yes.
And what were those reasons?
Her children and her family, her mother.
How many times did she call or reach out to help for a suicide hotline?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something important to find out, if the person who you're suggesting was denying suicidality or suicidal ideation upon your evaluation, that she called out to suicide hotlines?
She was telling, she told us that she was having suicidal thoughts,
right,
but had no intent or plan. So I do know that she was struggling with suicidal ideation.
Right. Anybody else that you talked to? Or
Patrick,
did you talk to anybody else?
I know the social worker, Dr. Patrick, and he did give the information he gave.
Okay. So what I'm asking is, as you're investigating the history of this patient, you're not aware, no idea that she had reached out on not one but two occasions to a suicide hotline. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Did you know that when she was first prescribed the Zoloft by Dr. Tufts at 25 milligrams, then increased to 50 milligrams, that she then reported that she was unable to sleep?
She shared that with us. Yeah.
Was that?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I
Go
didn't.
right ahead, no problem. What is it?
I'm going to let you finish the question.
Okay, thank you. No big deal. It's just that she reported that she went for 48 hours without sleep.
I don't remember that time quoted. I know she had difficulty sleeping.
You indicated in your testimony that, and I quote, "I would have preferred to have more information about her sleep patterns," right? Do you remember saying that?
Following the changes in the medications that we were making.
So sleep pattern would be just what it says, sleep pattern. Like you sleep from 9 at night till 7 in the morning, or
yes,
12 at night, whatever your pattern would be, right?
Yes.
And why is a sleep pattern important for you as a psychiatrist trying to evaluate your patient?
Because difficulty sleeping is a symptom of several different conditions, and it can worsen several different conditions.
And you know that she had reported severe anxiety, right?
She was struggling with anxiety, yes.
Struggling with anxiety, and she was having not just insomnia, but she had very, very severe insomnia, didn't she?
She wasn't able to sleep.
And you would prefer to have more information about sleep patterns, is what you said. I'm not putting words in your mouth. That's what you said.
I know that we were able to observe her sleep while she was on the unit. Once she left the unit, I would not know how she was sleeping, which is why we referred her to somebody else so that they could continue to monitor her symptoms.
Obviously. So far, what we've got is a presentation of the patient who was in the locked wards at McLean Hospital, and the presentation was from her, right?
Her presentation is how she presents, how she is observed. It's not what she's telling us.
Well, isn't what she's telling you part of what you consider?
Yes.
Okay. And what Patrick's telling you is part of what you consider?
Yes.
So other than what Lindsay, who was in the locked ward, tells you, and her husband who tells you, what, if any, investigation did you do?
We did not do any additional collateral contact.
And you didn't do any tests either, right? You didn't do it. Did you do a blood test?
Psychiatry as a field is not dependent on blood tests. If it was that simple, it would be much better for everybody. It's based on the evaluation of the patient who's sitting in front of you.
So you're suggesting to this jury that it's not a valid medical step for one to take blood from a person who is on a cocktail of drug medications to find out what their levels are?
No, not a regular procedure at all.
Okay. Now, McLean did not take any blood. McLean did not do the Edinburgh scale, but that would be something that you would be interested in, right? As to whether or not anyone else gave her the Edinburgh Depression Scale.
Let me clarify one thing. McLean did draw blood. They did do testing. There was no testing for levels of drugs. Just
okay.
Let me clarify that. That's
fine.
Okay.
So they took a CBC or maybe a blood count evaluation, but it had nothing to do with what was on board, as they say, as far as tricyclics, antipsychotics, SSRIs, anything, right?
They check for substances of abuse, but nothing else.
Well, there were no substances of abuse in her blood, were there?
No.
How about the tricyclics, the antipsychotics, the SSRIs, the benzodiazepines, the Z drugs that they call some of their categories? They didn't test for that, did they?
Those are not tested on a regular basis.
How about on her basis?
I don't know why I would have tested for those.
No, I don't want to go to the sidebar. I really don't want to go to the sidebar.
I need to know what you're going to talk about before.
I want to tell you that they got picked up on a hot mic saying, shut her up during the playing of that autopsy.
All right.
This is not like Handmaid's Tale, so you're going to tape them
So I'm not doing that at all. I just want to find out what the issue is. There's a lot of privileged issues, and then you can tell me that, and then if you want to make a comment, I just want to make it real clear that there is to be no inappropriate comments or disruptive comments to be made inside of this courtroom. If anybody is found to make those, they will be immediately escorted out and barred for the balance of this. All right, I just want to make that real clear. And just in case you're wondering, there are microphones all around. And so if I get a report of that, there's going to be some serious issues and serious problems. So I just kind of wanted to put that out for everybody so it's crystal clear.
What types of things are you looking for to see if someone's experiencing psychosis?
So there are a number of things. They start with how the patient appears. So some signs of psychosis might be that they appear disheveled. I assess what their attitude is, if they might be agitated or very uncooperative. That's a red flag. I will assess what their speech is like. Is it very loud? Is it very fast? Or sometimes it could be the opposite, where they're not really even speaking at all. I assess what their mood is like, what they're saying that they're feeling, and how they appear visually.
I assess what their thoughts are like. So are their thoughts disorganized, where it's really hard to understand? They're jumping around and you can't follow their line of thought. I assess what the thought content is. If it's particularly about anything very bizarre or very paranoid, that would be potentially indicative of psychosis.
And you conducted that type of evaluation on Lindsay Clancy in that first meeting, is that correct?
Yes, that assessment is done with every patient.
And did you note any signs or symptoms of psychosis with Ms. Clancy that day?
No.
Did you have an initial diagnosis?
Yes.
And what was that?
It was a generalized anxiety disorder, and it was an adjustment disorder with depressed mood.
What is generalized anxiety disorder?
It's an anxiety disorder where an individual may have a lot of different worries. They may also have physical feelings of anxiety, but they're worried about a lot of things, not really just one thing specifically.
And what is adjustment disorder with depressed mood?
So adjustment disorder refers to the fact that there may be symptoms, but they are kind of secondary to the situation. So they don't meet the full criteria, say, of a major depressive disorder, but there were some symptoms of depression.
Go ahead, you may.
She was alert, she was oriented, she was appropriate, her rapport, meaning how she worked with me, was appropriate, dressed appropriately, euthymic, meaning not depressed, not angry, kind of a normal mood. Her affect was full, her speech was appropriate, her thought content and a process were appropriate. She did not mention any hallucination. At this point, I mentioned her insight was poor, her judgment was excellent, her cognition did not show any deficits, and there was normal psychomotor activity.
And why did you list that her insight was poor?
So I think that must have been related to the fact that at this point, she did have some very clinically significant anxiety. Usually when people come to a psychiatrist, they believe that their symptoms are significant and that a medication is something that might be prescribed. But despite these symptoms, she still didn't want to try the medicine.
So you weren't pushing her to take a prescription medication, correct?
No.
Now, on October 21st, when you saw her, did she tell you that she hadn't been able to get any sleep the night before?
Yes.
You've already said she told you she wasn't having audio or visual hallucinations, correct?
Yes.
Did you ask her if she was having suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation?
Yes.
And what was her response?
No.
What was her affect that day?
It was depressed.
And did she tell you during your conversation that day that she had been anxious all day, not depressed or irritable, getting better?
Yes.
Okay, so she's telling you she's not depressed, but her affect to you appeared depressed. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that for the same reasons you stated earlier, those visual cues that you saw?
Yes.
Did she appear hyper or manic in any way?
No.
Was there any changes in her rate of speech or pattern of speech?
No.
Was there any difference in her mental status exam?
No. It was mentioned
because of the poor reaction she had had to some of her medications, the insomnia. So we discussed whether these side effects she was experiencing indicated she had bipolar disorder. But when that was assessed, it was not deemed that she had bipolar disorder.
And why was that?
Because she really didn't meet the criteria.
And what criteria didn't she meet?
So there's a number of different criteria for bipolar disorder, or specifically looking at mania, because she did have some symptoms of depression, but the other side is mania. So the most important one is euphoria. So actually 7 days of continued euphoria with very high energy levels. That's the most important one. But then in addition to that, you need some other things like potentially pressured speech, grandiosity, which is like a person feeling superhuman or godlike. You might see increased risk-taking behaviors. Usually those are significant risks, like somebody having affairs or using drugs, things that really negatively impact their life. The person might have a decreased need for sleep, which is not just insomnia, but it's truly not needing the sleep and having enormous amounts of energy otherwise.
What was the conversation or interaction with her that day on the 23rd?
So she said she was doing all right, a little more anxious, and the anxiety was described as the feeling of her heart racing. She had a decreased appetite as well. She was on only 2 milligrams of Valium at this point and feeling more anxious in the morning. Mood was the same, flat, anxious, no motivation, numb. She has to force herself to get out of bed and out of the house, but is able to do that. And she is sleeping okay.
And did you ask her if she had suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation on the 23rd?
Yes, I did.
What was her response?
No.
And did you notice any symptoms or signs of psychosis that day?
No.